Hi, I'm Rachel. Welcome to Life on Purpose. I invite you to join in on this journey to live a life of deep meaning and intention. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Life on Purpose. I am excited to have my guest here today, Dr. Jason Felz. He is my chiropractor that I've been working with for a few months now. And I am so excited that he has joined me today for this conversation about living a purposeful life and how he does that and how he helps other people to live with more purpose as well. So let me introduce Dr. Jason and we'll get into our conversation. Dr. Jason Felz is a third-generation chiropractor hailing from a long line of passionate healthcare practitioners dedicated to promoting wellness and vitality. Born and raised in a family deeply rooted in chiropractic care, Dr. Felz inherited a profound appreciation for natural healing and holistic well-being from an early age. Following in the footsteps of his father and great uncle, Dr. Felz pursued his chiropractic education with unwavering determination and commitment to excellence. I totally agree. He earned his Doctor of Chiropractic degree from the prestigious Life University in 2012, where he honed his skills and expertise in spinal adjusting and patient-centered care. Driven by a genuine desire to make a positive impact in the lives of others, Dr. Felz is deeply invested in providing compassionate and personalized chiropractic services to his community. With a focus on restoring proper alignment, alleviating pain, and optimizing health, he empowers his patients to embrace natural healing and unlock their body's innate potential for wellness. I love that so much. Outside of his professional endeavors, Dr. Felz finds immense joy and fulfillment in his role as a loving husband to his wife, Ashley, of almost 18 years, and a devoted father to their 4 children. And you win the prize of the most memorable and very cool children's names. You and Ashley should just this is so great. Willow, Sage, Maple, and Cedar. And I've seen a few of them around, and they are just adorable. Together, they cherish precious moments as a close-knit family, fostering a nurturing environment grounded in love, support, and mutual respect and faith. With a steadfast commitment to chiropractic excellence and a profound dedication to family values, Dr. Jason Felz embodies the timeless principles of compassion, integrity, and service. His passion for healing and his unwavering commitment to holistic wellness continue to inspire and uplift those he is fortunate to encounter. Ooh.
The way you read that made that so long. I didn't know that long when I wrote it.
I love it. I think it's really inspirational. And I wanted to just share a little insight when I'd been working with you for several weeks. And I remember coming in one day and you were talking about how you wanted to reevaluate your evening routine with the kids and with, doing the things that were important to you. And that those kind of things just stick with me because it shows me how we're always evaluating our lives of what is important and how are we going to use our time wisely to do the things that are important to us. And I could just tell from that your relationships are really important and you are purposefully making the time and choosing what is the most important with your family and as well as with the great work that you're doing. So thank you for joining me today.
Hey, you're welcome. I can't believe it's been a few months already working with you. Like, time flies and we're always going through different seasons. You pointed out a memory of me talking about being more intentional with my family. I don't remember those statements, right? But all the time I am self-evaluating. I think it's important. there's three areas of my life that there's my time, myself with God. There's my family time. There's obviously my work environment. I feel like I can only really excel at two of those at a time, and one is always requiring work, and that rotates. So, in a moment that you caught, I might have felt maybe I was deficient in how I was showing up at home, and those things are needing work at that time. So, self
Yeah.
awareness is important. That's for sure.
Yeah, so important. And really, it's always kind of adjusting to where we're headed
Yeah.
and figuring out, okay, yeah, I want to bring this to a different level. And now I'm going to focus on this. So, yeah, I totally agree that that's important. I would love to know, as you were growing up, you talked about how you had this experience of growing up with examples of healthcare practitioners in chiropractic care and holistic healing. And how did that inspire you to choose this route in this healing modality?
Well, it's one thing to grow into a legacy of a family where now we have 18 chiropractors in our family, and so they're all in Northwest Ohio, northwest of me. I'm the southernmost chiropractor in Ohio, right? um, in fact, I'll be going up to my dad's practice on Monday. You know, God has an amazing creation, and it's kind of cool to witness this solar eclipse that's coming. I'm not putting any divination into that event, but to witness that, I'll get to be able to practice in my dad's practice with him on Monday. And my sister works in that office, and so does my brother-in-law. So that's going to be kind of fun that we have this family of chiropractors that we get to do together. But I'll tell you, growing up, it wasn't easy because my dad told me, you need to be a chiropractor. You need to be a chiropractor. And it was constantly driven into my head. And sometimes it's like a pastor's kids growing up in a home under a pastor. It could be troublesome, right? There's this idea that you are the next generation up, and you're supposed to carry some sort of torch. And I struggled with that. I did. I got to witness awesome things being in his office all the time. I was part of the environment, just as you see my kids sometimes running around in here. Man, it was great to witness. But I grew up in a big shadow of my dad, who made all this impact on people around him. And I felt like I don't know if I could live up to what my dad does. So I struggled with this idea of, am I good enough for my dad, for years? And that gave me probably subconscious anxiety and generational anxiety, I think, for a while. And so when I went to college, I tried other degrees. I tried pursuing different directions. And like most people, I think there is a way that you discover yourself when you're in college. And I started to get comfortable in my skin. And I realized that my personal space is closer than most. My ability to connect with people, probably there's an empathic side of me, is really good. And I need to work with people. And so I ended up choosing chiropractic. But it was when I was older. I wasn't the 18-year-old kid going straight to chiropractic school. I spent 6 years in undergrad trying different things. So I got my start later, but I am so happy that it's not some prophecy that I'm fulfilling, but to pass on a legacy. I think it is a great thing. And maybe one of my kids someday will be a chiropractor too, but I'm not going to push it on them like I felt pushed when I was a child. So there's that.
That is great. I'm really curious about your your discovery piece. Was that over time you kind of discovered your way, your path to this purpose of chiropractic care, or was it like a certain instant that you realized that?
I think it was an unfolding process over a few months where I wasn't as self-reflective then as I am now, and I was starting to discover, things about myself personally, and my ability to connect with people, and want to get to deeper meaning in relationships and purpose. And when it comes to health, it's not something you just play around with. It is something that can be serious. there's so many aspects of health. And when you connect to people on all those different levels, it can leave a life impact. And so I felt like, hey, I know this field, and it matched my philosophy in terms of how I approach life. It was meant to be at that point. So I chose it for myself and not to please my father at that point. And that was a switch. So
Oh, that's really great to be able to step into that because I really can't imagine you doing anything else. So so
right.
that's wonderful. You are very good at what you do and make people feel really comfortable and valuable. And so I just love that you had a journey and you had to do that deep reflection of what am I doing this for and what is my bigger why?
Yeah. And in fact, every person that comes into this office, it doesn't matter what brings them here. It is my point to figure out their why. And some people haven't even approached their own why, but it's getting to the deepest seated questions. It's, well, this person's suffering with pain or headaches, but okay, you tell me that you want relief of those things. Can you tell me why you want relief from those things? And when you get to those answers, well, I'm not showing up as the mom that I want to be, or okay, so you're not your ideal self. Let's build from that. What would make your life more ideal, albeit headaches being gone? What is it that you're trying to build? When you get to that, it changes not only the relationship between us, but the calling that we have, a call to action between us. Get beyond your headaches, but start building the life that you want. So, man, I feel like that's where my mission is. I happen to be part of this profession, but getting people to commit to a higher version of themselves as I think God intends within them. So,
Oh, wow. That's great.
yeah, we can expand on that, but
No, that's so good. I love that you hold the vision of them in their wholeness and not necessarily you help to adjust and help them to create a better package, right, in their body of healing and function. But I love that you're holding in your mind, but this is where we're like this is the vision for your life. It isn't just about let me make you physically feel better in this moment.
right. So many people, I mean, I'm not going to be everybody's lifelong chiropractor. There are people that ultimately will come here to feel better and they might find their way out of the office. But I'd say half of my patients become part of a movement that is to change the way they live their lives and are responsible for their health. And I want them to become matriarchs and patriarchs for their family, whether it's in how they live, but why they live. And it fits my what I call a personal statement of desire. So every day I have a statement that roots me back to my purpose, and it could there's things that could deviate me from my path, and if I feel off, if I feel like if I'm not focused, I'll reflect on this statement, and it's discipling health, hope, and faith. And at every moment, if I'm not doing that, I feel like I'm not fulfilling my purpose. And so every encounter I have with a person, before I even touch or connect with that person, I can recite that statement in my head, and it anchors me to be a resource, and it takes me out of my selfishness and allows me to be present for somebody.
Hmm.
So
I'm curious about your statement of desire. Where where did this where did your statement come from? If you could say it again for me again slowly. And where how did it become? How did you develop this into your statement of desire?
the statement is discipling health, hope, and faith.
Okay.
And it came from, if I think of the biggest moment in my life, the biggest impact that I experienced, it was catching my first child at her birth. And in that moment, and I can get emotional about it thinking about it right now. Uh, I felt a weight I had never felt before, a responsibility like, God, what are you bestowing upon me? Why? How is this possible? How do I have a child? And in that moment, I felt a grace I've never felt. I felt, um, a blessing that I felt like I didn't deserve. I mean, in some way, we're all a messy soup in some way, and and I knew this was a pivot point in my life. Like, I'll never be the same that I was 10 minutes prior, and I just felt this washing over me that you don't live for you anymore. And so there's a hope, there's beauty in the mess, and there are situations in your life that's going to pivot and change your course. And so this statement that I've come up with is, what did I feel in that moment? How did it make me shift, and how does that become part of my mission? And so I want to make disciples that know the truth, right? But I want to make disciples that could push hope into the world, can uplift others, can have a rooting in a faith that's unwavering and a truth that can't be shaken. And I want people to also look at their total health and well-being and realize this vessel has a mission, and you got to take care of this vessel. So every time I say that statement, the feelings that I had when I caught my daughter come back up. But I think it puts me in the purest form I could be. That's how I describe it. So
Wow. That's really tender. Thank you for sharing that
yeah.
about, that experience with your new baby daughter and the start
And
of
now, and
I know, that's so amazing.
yeah,
How would you recommend that someone else come up with a statement of desire in their life?
yeah, I think it takes a lot of self-reflection on the impactful moments in your life. And there's traumatic ones, there's ones of blessing, and as you reflect upon those, if you can think of the subconscious shift that your body experienced, or did something change your identity in yourself that said, I now live for something different? And so surround yourself with the emotions that you felt in that time. What did it change your commitments to each day? Did it change something in you? And I do encourage, I'm still working. I have a team that's been with me for 5 years. Okay, that we are a family here, and even they are still working on their statement of desires. You know, one of them happened to become a mom in the last year, and so her whole life has shifted. And so she had a statement of desire before, but she's like, I know it's not the same. I know it's different. And she's trying to pinpoint it. And I don't know that everybody can come so quickly to have a statement of desire. Um, but it's in us somewhere. And if we can, if it's something that we can anchor to, and it can point to our faith, it could point to purpose. I think it changes how we show up, and it allows the giftedness each of us has to be expressed. It allows us to be, um, maybe it is our purpose by God's design. It allows us to get back to that. So
Yeah, and it's gonna be so individual to each person. Something I love about it is that it's short, so that it's easily rehearsed. It's not a long paragraph.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, I think the shorter the better. Honestly, if when I think about it, I, I think it should be something you could profess to somebody else. It should be something that you could say, and others could even feel connected to it. So if it's too specific and long, I don't know. I think simplicity, um, allows it to be palpable by others. So
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's so good. I want to shift gears here and talk about your 21-day work week.
Okay, yeah.
I'm intrigued.
So I did learn about this from somebody I consider a mentor, and I as when he described it to me, I said, I have to live like that. This makes so much sense. There's 7 days of the week, and 21 divided by 7 is 3, right? So there's 3 days within each day that we call this thing. And I do break my day into 3 ways. There's my time for myself that I need for myself to not only be anchored in purpose, but disciplines that allow me to be healthy and show up the best way. So, my first day of the week is when I wake up at 5 a.m. every day, and I spend time in scripture first. I feel that's probably the most important thing that I could do to set a tone right and get my mind focused on the better things. Secondly, I go straight to the gym. If I'm not exercising my body, making myself sweat, um, I think it could derail my focus and intensity in the way that I show up. So I want to have that personal time to exercise my body and get this vessel moving. And the earlier I get up, by the time I get to work, my brain is so much more alert, right? So there's my personal time. Obviously, that includes getting ready for the day. But as soon as I walk into the door of my office, I'm in my day two, and everything is focused on my patients, patient care, um, my team, being a leader within my office, being able to set myself up to win and be the leader for the patients here in the office too. So there's a whole routine that I have in this office of disciplines that I have to go through and get ready for the day. So I'm here at 7 a.m. and from 7 a.m. up until 6:01 p.m. when I walk in my door, I am in my day two, fully focused on this community. And then when I go inside my house, I leave all the work behind. I leave all of my personal time behind. I I do struggle to drop even my moments of entitlement. Why am I playing a card game on my phone? No, it is time for my wife. It is time for my kids and investing in my home. So my day three is my family. And so every day of the week, I do put a component of each of those in, albeit on Saturdays and Sundays, it is much less with my work. I will set on Saturdays, even I will even have when I wake up early in the morning after the gym, I'll put some vision stuff into my work, maybe a half hour though. That's it. On Sunday evenings, I spend 1 hour going over patient files, seeing where patients are at, making my Monday morning an easier jump. But yeah, weekends definitely heavy on family time, and that's really good. I only work out Monday through Friday. Here and there, I'll work out with a buddy on a Saturday or Sunday, but um, I still am in the Word every day. So that is my me time. So yes, I think it's essential that we find a way. I see so many people, especially even patients, struggling. They're overlapping everything. I have a relative that she puts a lot into her work, and it invades her family time. It pushes off of her own schedule of how she takes care of herself, and the constant battle with this as she's trying to develop this business. I see the struggle with her balancing that. And so trying to help her anchor into a 21-day work week. I think it's healthy for everybody. At different times, we have heavier focuses in the different areas, but I think it's an essential model. So we can't always be 100% in all aspects, but we can show up the best in those moments when we draw boundaries. And I was a person who struggled with boundaries for years, and now these boundaries have allowed me to excel in those areas. I'll never be perfect, but the pursuit of perfection, I think, is an art. And I think it's essential that I'm always trying to be a better husband and a better father. I think it's essential that I'm trying to be a better boss and a leader within my office. And man, do I wish I could please God more and and hear back from that, but I know that I can't. But it's just every day pursuing to walk more like Christ. So
Wow, that is really inspiring how you are taking self responsibility, looking at yourself, and you have created and you've also learned and accepted these structures in your life to help you show up in a better way. And how have you noticed that you are more present and you show up in a different way for having these structures?
Oh man, that's a I think you'd have to look at the people around me in those times.
Mm.
Now, I'll start out with my personal time, right? So this has been going, I'd say I structured this 21-day work week probably about 5 years ago. Um, I used to wake up later in the morning than I do now. I'd spend time in the Word and then just get ready and come to the office. I'd show up just before 7:30 when my team would get here at 7:30. Um, and I say I wasn't as prepared as I could have been. I'm 42 years old. Just turned that last year was the first time in my life that I ever dedicated time to working out. And last year I lost 60 pounds doing this. I restructured my eating. I worked out 252 times last year. I probably put on 20 pounds of muscle. It changed my, I think, insecurities with my body that are subconscious. I never let those come out of me, but I think that they were there. Um, I do think there is something to the way that men are wired, um, to figure out, like we want to accomplish or defeat something. For me to overcome some of the tendencies of my body and what I experienced before, to see what the potential of my body is. I think every man needs to experience that on some level to see what the capability of this design can do. And I think the physical changes I went through last year really made me look at this 21-day work week even with more intensity. Um, over the last, I'd say over the last year or two, my focus on my family and leading my family went to another level. It's what are you doing with your kids? How are they getting to know God? Are you leading a home and teaching them, or are you allowing the church to do the work for you? Did I pray with my wife and over my wife before last year? I think maybe twice.
Mm.
And now it's at least a few nights a week, which that's that has taken us to another level. Her and I connected that braided rope with Jesus in our relationship. It's a beautiful thing. So disciplines, that is everything, honestly. The disciplines and setting my routine has allowed me to grow and impact the lives around me. If you ask my team who I am now compared to a year ago, I think they'd have a lot to say. Um, Now I do spinal workshops. I'm not afraid to profess truth. I've had that bite me in the past, but now I don't attach the outcome of what I profess to affect me anymore. It's leaders lead regardless of who's following. They just blaze a path, right? And so when I'm professing truth, and I hope it's full truth and it's clean, um, I hope it strikes people and it helps them to become leaders too. But I don't care about my following. I love my following. I want them to do better, right? But being able to lead my team, it's allowed them to find their giftedness and their passion and their role within the office. And I tell them I want to retire with them, and they tell me they want to retire with me. And I don't want to lose them, because we are another family. It's another family that I'm committed to. And I tell patients too, I would love to be your last chiropractor, but somebody that takes care is with you and alongside your health for the rest of your life. So
Wow, that is just really inspiring to see this have walked through this transformation with you of this journey of this is where I was even a year ago because 365 days are going to pass and we are designing where we're going to end up at that. And so even having you walk us through just the past year. That is so exciting. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. I something I never thought about, and you just struck me is, what of my patients that have been with me for all these years, what did they see different in me? And I don't know. I never want my transformation to be idolized in any way. I don't want to build up some, yeah, I don't want to build up my transformation as some idol, but what I want it to be is inspiring for others to let go of what's holding them into this world and taking them to something that will be for growth in the spiritual world. I want them to find, they get anchored to a mission and serve as they were designed to do. So when I ask a patient, when I tell a patient, sorry, that I hope they're with me the rest of their life, what I want them to do is to get out of their being victim to symptoms into a mission of health and a journey to impact others for the rest of their life. And that is so hard. That is so hard to do, to pull people out of a healthcare industry that just wants to mask the symptoms, right? And to say health is something you build, that you were born with, and take them out of suffering. It's such a weird dynamic, right? It's a different direction. I don't know.
Yeah,
So I'm
it's a
build a
yeah.
tribe. Yeah, that's it. I'm trying to build a tribe that, and then this tribe then become disciples and professing these things, and then they change a whole community. And when the community changes, man,
Yeah. Powerful.
it is powerful.
Yeah.
You never know what one small thing that you do or say could impact the lives of millions tomorrow. It could. So, what are we building that's going to leave a legacy on values, not necessarily the person, right? That's what I want to do.
Yeah. Well, and taking people from a place of I'm seeing you because I have a problem to I'm seeing you because I'm taking care of myself and I want to maintain and improve my vitality, my
Yeah.
energy, how I'm able to show up in the world because it does impact the other aspects of life. How we feel impacts our relationships and impacts how we use our time and impacts how we are doing our work. And so, yeah, that's going to be a mind shift for people.
Maybe we could talk about, our bodies and our design and, what I think that we were created for, right? Here's the crazy, what I tell people, your body has an intelligence that it was given, and I think there's a God design, right? An intelligence that adapts to its environment. It grows a baby into an adult. It maintains itself, and so whatever environment that you're in, it's going to shift. How does the human body heal a cut without you telling the body what to do? How does the body grow a child and you don't tell it how to build all of its parts? How does it elevate a heart rate when you exercise? How does it increase your breathing capacity when the demand is there? How does it shiver when you're cold? This innate intelligence that we call it was given by God, and it allows your vessel, your body, to adapt to its environment and do the work for you. It houses your spirit, right? And so when I try to educate people on this, it's, you want that intelligence to do its optimum job. And why is that important? Because ultimately we are a vessel that's created in God's image that has its own purpose and own mission. And I'm not Calvinist and saying, well, no matter what you do, it's going to happen, right? No. But when you understand that there's a potential of your body and your health to improve the performance of this vessel, it allows you to show up differently in the lives of those around you. And then the gifts, the spiritual gifts that you were given, and the fruits of the spirit that can come out of you thereafter might be more impactful to those around you. Because ultimately, someday, my biggest thing that I'm going to answer, and it's not for every patient that walks in this office, because I take care of people that don't believe in God, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I do face him someday, I don't want, what I want is less weight and burden on my shoulders that says, What did you do with all the resources I gave you? I gave you access to this. What did you do with it? I want to perform the best for him, and I have to take care of this vessel in the right way for that performance to come out. So getting people away from their symptoms into a vessel that can perform at a level they've never felt may allow them to show up and impact the lives of those around them. We were designed to be healthy. Unfortunately, we don't live according to our design, though. That's what I tell people. We are far too sedentary. We're far too comfortable. We indulge in things that distract us. We might feel entitled to those distractions. We don't eat like we used to, and our foods are depleted of the nutrition that they once had. So the nutrition that supports healthy tissues, I honestly believe you can't be healthy without supplementation anymore in terms of the American diet and the foods that we encounter. And then lastly, we know too much, meaning we know too much of the happenings in the world around us, that it does affect us subconsciously, and we are buckets of stress. We're buckets of subconscious stress, and that stress throws us into what I call sympathetic dominance, where your nervous system is in a fight or flight mode way too often, and we're not in parasympathetic dominance, where we rest, digest, and divest ourselves to the community around us. So if we're always in fight or flight, our physiology reflects that. And we're tired, we're overworked, and we get sick because of it. So it's vital that we take care of this vessel. And it's my calling to remove the interferences to that innate intelligence within the body by adjusting the spine or removing nerve interference. But I don't have the wherewithal or the accessibility to come alongside everybody's step in life and show them where they're throwing their vessel into the opposite of health, you know? Mm-hmm. So I have to empower people through education. I wish I could come alongside you, Rachel, in every step of the way and say, well, this is impacting your health. This is impacting your nervous system. This is harming that vessel. But there's only so much capability I have. So there is a weight with that. But we are designed to be healthy, and we're designed to express God's love of this most treasured creation through us. So I see broken people all the time, and not just physically, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally. And there's a giftedness in being able to show up, be present, to pause and connect with someone and allow them to self-discover those things that are holding them back.
Wow. I know that you are so passionate about education, because you even check with me, like, okay, do you understand like these things about your health and how it works? And, you have these weekly workshops where you're inviting people in to learn more and have greater understanding. And really, I think like you're helping us intellectually learn things. So I think it will soak down to our hearts,
Right.
and into our souls, and have kind of that soulful experience of knowing truth and feeling truth, feeling that love that you carry and that compassion, and feeling that and feeling like, wow, something is different. I feel good when I'm hearing these messages of hope and of we are meant to be well.
Yeah.
Like, just having that, hopefully it soaks into our subconscious so that we can really believe it.
Well, you remember when I told you that I chose chiropractic for me and not to please my father? I want to do the same thing for my patients. I want them to choose to pursue health for themselves, not because I told them to. Mm. So if I can give them information, and information without implementation leads to depression. If I give you information, there's a responsibility that you have to decipher that. You have to meditate on that and understand it. And ultimately, most people are going to make choices that are far better than they did before, having heard the information. And if that leads to a transformation of their health or even elevates them a little bit, and then that child that they have has a better relationship with that parent, oh my gosh, like those are things you can't measure. I can't measure how people's health changes impact the world around them. I know that it does. So I
Mm.
need to educate. And that's the first thing a doctor should do. If you look up the Latin word for doctor, it means teacher. Do a lot of doctors teach anymore? I don't know. I think they follow standards and just check things off. But I have to give of my time and my resources in educating others. If I'm not doing that, I'm not creating disciples of hope, of faith, and health. So,
And are when you talk about the fruits showing up in this greater way, more than health, we're talking, spirituality and showing up with the fruits that God wants us to show up in, like our real selves, our real pure soul selves. What are some of those fruits that you would want people to experience in their lives?
yeah. I think for people that have been in suffering or they've become victims to something in their lives, when they can be freed from that, um, it allows them to show up with patience. It allows them to show grace when maybe they were easily they're easily irritated before. Maybe it's um, maybe it's how they can express love to their kids and enjoy each moment with them with quality time. And it's just endless right there, right? Like when you are less victimized by your body and its performance, it gives you the potential to show up in a different way. And so it is not uncommon, especially with women. Um, I think they are more in tune with the changes of their body and how it impacts their children and stuff. When they tell me that they've shown up differently with their kids and they didn't even know that they were in a poor state before they were going through care. I mean, to see that with my patients, I know everybody's having an experience, but not everybody understands what the fruits are and um, how those are part of God's design and it works through you, right? Even unbelievers or they can experience some sort of transformation when they operate in their environment, right? It's like a passive grace that they also get. But if you were to spend time in my office and talk to some of my patients, they'd probably tell you how their life is different and how it's more than just their symptoms. They've shown up different for others. So we all have some gifted fruits in us. I think all of them can be expressed, but there's talents and abilities that we each have, um, and our ability to perform them are impacted by our health. So there you go.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let's talk about community because I have heard you talk about that before, how important that is for you. And what does living in community really mean to you and how do you purposefully live as part of community in your life?
When I think of community, I think of people that you do life with. Um, how best to describe this? Um, there's a you have to get beyond your own insecurities that keep you from showing your vulnerable self. Now, there's only so many people you can have in a close knit circle around you, right? I have 3 guy friends, um, 4 couples that are really close to us that at any moment I could give them any access to my heart or my spirit, things I'm struggling with, right? I think it is essential to have that community, especially for men. 8 out of 10 men that walk into this office, maybe it's part of a struggle with culture right now and manhood, but they live isolated. They try to fix everything on their own, and ultimately things break. The best men I know are open with other men with the things that they struggle with. The best women I know live in community and share, and they point back to scripture. They keep each other rooted. If we're not living in community and we're not vulnerable in that community, then our suffering on the inside is going to be prolonged, which doesn't allow us to show up at our best. So community is part of health. In my office, I'm trying to create a culture shift. I'm trying to build a community. I have some patients in this office that will just talk to you and tell you what's going on. Did I lose connection? Oh, there you are. Sorry. If I have a patient who can connect with a stranger after their life has been transformed, that's showing me that there's a community being built here through the mission of this space. So you can go fast on your own. You could try to overcome things in your own life, but in community, we go farther together. And I want my kids to witness the community that they're living in and desire to have the same thing. So these friends that we do life with, it's amazing. Our kids, we get together every week at some point, and I think we were designed to do that. Right now, we're all in the American culture, isolated. We build our house and people stay in their home. Some they don't even know their neighbor. I know my neighbors. We're supposed to know our neighbors. I was telling you earlier that we know too much. We care about things on the other side of the world that are not directly impacting our lives. We let those things fester in our heads, and it distracts us from living in community. And I think that's part of God's design, to build a church with people that have resources to pool together and live together and share their lives. And without that vulnerability, you won't experience the shifts that are necessary for all aspects of your health, I believe. So
what would you recommend? I think specifically for men
yeah,
to open up to that vulnerability, because I think it's just fear of being unworthy or unlovable if you let anyone see like your actualness,
yeah.
your humanness. So, what would you say to men who are kind of closed off and feel isolated? How do you even start that opening, especially if you've been hurt in the past?
Yeah, that's I think one of my being an empath, I think I'm kind of gifted in that sixth sense where I can pick up on stuff that people are struggling with. I think that a lot of people have that gift. They may not even know it, but I have the ability to connect with somebody really quick, and I can get right to the heart of the issue pretty fast. It could be intimidating to hear, but I've had men just break down right in front of me here, even in this office. Men are afraid to be men today in some levels, and secondly, we have heroes built up in our head that we're supposed to mimic. There's this idea that we're strong if we can do it all on our own. I recommend that men do one thing first and read a book called Wild at Heart. And in that book, it is a scripture focused book too. It talks about the 7 needs that men have and how we will seek them, whether it's in the world or in the spirit. And we need to fulfill some of those needs Otherwise, those insecurities will pool up in our life and it'll lead to destructive behaviors. If we understand our needs, it helps us to understand why other guys are struggling. So it allows us to show up for each other. I think if you understand your needs and where you're suffering, it eventually leads to conversations that allow you to be vulnerable with other guys, and you can build a team of men around you. I think it's essential that we have men's groups that are specific for men and women's groups that are specific for women. After you and I are done today, I have a call with a men's group that I lead every Friday, and I also do a men's group every Monday night. So I have commitments to other guys that we can walk through those 7 struggles that most men face, and being in that community allows us to have the shift. It allows us to see truth. It allows us to look at ourselves and come to an understanding where those things originated and how can we overcome them. So it's good. For years, the struggle for me to please my father, because I'll tell you, my dad, love him. He is a wonderful man. He doesn't, and I give him so much grace for even what I experienced in trying to please him. I don't hold him any fault for that, but he would praise my brother and his athletic accomplishments, and it was his prized golden child. And I was the son who was in band, and I was in Boy Scouts and became an Eagle Scout. I was always looking for my dad to be proud, but he loved sports, so he loved my brother's accomplishments, right? Those created insecurities, I think, that were deep-seated for the first 30 years of my life. I was struggling with that until I realized it. And the realization came from me understanding the needs of men. It allowed me to have conversations that unfolded and unpacked the onion peels of these insecurities. And once I can release those and let those go and show grace and throw that back to it, that trauma can be gone. And it allows us to be the tools that God wants us to be. So men need to be in community. And ladies, if your husbands are alone and they're fighting alone, recognize the fights. Recognize that there's something going on the inside, and show up for your husband or your significant other in that way. But find married couples that you can surround your life with and start building a community for him if he can't build it on his own. A lot of men want to just fix it on their own, and that fight could take them decades before they get over it. So help them find a community of men is essential.
Well, and honoring your dad and other influences in your life, there is always this unraveling of what we brought with us from childhood, how we synthesize that, even though things are sometimes meant to be like, I'm doing this out of love, I want you to have a good life, or out of fear, I'm afraid you're not going to have a good life if you don't do this. And it's that unraveling and coming to ourselves that is the work. So, I mean, I hope that like, you are obviously honoring what they gave to you in who you are now and the messages that you provide. I love that you proclaimed those words about how the needs of men, and really diving into that, and how you are showing up in that way. I think that message was really important. I hope that there are many people who hear that and really take it deeply, because I think that could be a key for some people.
For sure. And men will deviate to things, to addictive behaviors, or they'll move to sources that will fulfill their deepest needs that they may not be aware about. And one that I see that's hasn't been improving at all are video games. And we're bringing video games to this conversation. That's amazing, right? But video games can fill all those needs of men.
Mm.
And unfortunately, it takes away from so much around them and the lives around them. So I want women to recognize some of these patterns that men tend to get into. And I encourage women to read Wild at Heart as well, so they understand the needs of men. So when you go to respect your husband and love them in a way that they can understand and feel, you'll understand. But by knowing the needs of a man, you can help fill those needs. So
I'm excited to look into that book. I'm so glad you brought it up. I love other resources and learning new things. So I've learned through this conversation, and we're going to bring it in for a landing. And I'm so grateful for this time that we had to talk.
yeah, and I hope that we'll have more time in the future. And I'm excited that you've jumped into our community, and I love what you are doing here, having these higher conversations. And it's necessary. I love podcasts for this reason. We aren't having the conversations in home as much as we once did, but this is a tool that allows for sharing of things that can build people. And that's what we've got to do. And if it all points back to him, man, even more powerful. You'll notice that I wear the clothing. I put this out in front. And I have people that don't believe that come into my office, but what they do experience, I hope, are the fruits. And I hope they can experience the function of a church outside of the physical church. And I hope they know that they are loved, and their design was also created by God. And they do have a higher purpose. And I hope they come to know that truth in the process. So,
Wow. I love that.
I'm just a resource. So,
I'm so grateful that I know you and that I can be part of your community. And just I appreciate how you are using your gifts and talents to show up in the world. And so I have one last question for you of what are you doing today to live your life on purpose?
well, for my gas card, and we didn't get to talk about this. I'm going to live out my statement of desire, obviously, in everything that I do. But on Fridays, I work on some back office things to improve its flow for the next week. Be working on some marketing things. I get to have a date day with Ashley this afternoon, so I always put time for us, and so that's a good thing. And I'll always find way to disciple health, hope, and faith. So
Oh, I love that. Well, we're going to link to how to contact you through your website and social media, and so other people can find you, and people who are this really resonates. I know that this message will resonate with many people, and so thank you. Thank you
thank
for this really beautiful and important conversation.
it was a
And so
great.
great.
Well, you have a beautiful weekend, and we will connect later.
Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are ready to live your life with greater purpose and intention, check out my free Power of Vision workshop, where you'll uncover your life dream, eliminate doubt, and move forward toward your goals with confidence. Get instant access with the provided link. Your life is too precious to live just by chance or by default. I want you to live your life on purpose. I will see you next time.